Welcome to Beyond Belief, the art of strange mentalism. With your host, Tommy Burnett. This week's special guest is Michael Diamond. And now your host, Tommy Burnett.
Sorry. I gotta stop doing that. So welcome back once again to Beyond Belief, the art of strange mentalism. I'm Tommy Burnett, and I'll be your host. We have a great show today. A friend of mine who I originally met in Derby in the UK at Doomsday. Had a great time. If we ever get a chance, you should definitely go. It's coming up this weekend, actually. If you can go get a ticket, which you probably can't, but who knows? Maybe you can. Anyway, please help me welcome my guest for today, the amazing Mr. Michael Diamond.
Go.
Hello.
Nice to see you again, Tommy, and thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you. It's making I want to say it's making me homesick, even though I don't live there. I feel like it should, because
Well, you're one of the family now. You're one of the family now. Once you've been to Doomsday once, you're one of the family.
Wow, that's good to know. I feel like family, so thank you for saying that. So, I mean, among being a musician, you're also a creator, you're also a collector. I have one of your haunted key effects, which is brilliant, called Jimmy's Key.
Yeah.
And a wonderful, bizarre story goes along with that. Do you have any other bizarre effects that you put out?
Yeah, I mostly do them in a very, very limited run. So if I do something, I'll maybe do somewhere between 12 and 24. I know the haunted key that you had, Jimmy's Key, I only did, there's 24 of those, 12 just the keys with the routines and the pictures, and then another 12 with the artifact that comes with it, which is the one that you got.
Right, yeah.
The story is based around an extremely haunted building, which is just about 5 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. It was an old seamen's orphanage, and then it became a mental hospital, and it started in the 1800s, somewhere about 1880-ish, went right up until the 1980s, so it was 100 years. And part of the story is based around a boy who died there, which is a true story, supposedly died in the attic from, he was being punished for being naughty, so he was locked in a cupboard in the attic, and when they came the next morning, he died.
Is he breaking up for everyone, or is it just me?
Breaking up, but he's frozen.
Okay. I think we might have lost the signal. Michael, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, your picture, yeah, we lost him. All right, well, hopefully he'll come back. If I know you don't want to hear me come on for an hour or so. But yeah, so, it's a really good routine. Oh, there he is. He's back now. Okay. Let's grab him in. And if you can unmute again, there we go. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. You kind of,
I
yeah,
don't know what happened there, really.
it was bizarre.
It was the spirits.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
It was Jimmy. Jimmy was pulling the cords.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
So,
that's
yeah,
I put that one out in a very small number because you had that piece of slate from the roof there, and there was only a
right,
limited number of
right.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, most other things I've put out. I put like a voodoo box that was a whole like routine of 5 or 6 items based on voodoo, and then I did the
Okay.
seance box that was the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other various things. I do have a book out though.
Ooh, let me,
Ooh,
hang on,
which
let me get rid of me for a second so we can
ooh,
see
look at
you.
that.
There we go.
There you go.
Ooh, wow.
So this is, I don't know, I just find it easier to put these stuff out in written form rather than making effects. Because once I've made a dozen,
Yeah,
I get fed anyway. So, but
yeah.
this is available for Magic Words in the UK. They're the ones
Nice.
who published it, and there's loads of weirdness in here. Oh, there's Mr. Fritz.
Oh, I love that. Wow, yeah.
So there's all sorts of things in here, and yeah, it's
Mm-hmm,
actually a
mm-hmm.
comic book artist that did all the illustrations as well. So that's
That's very nice.
that's the best way to get my stuff is
Okay.
via book, really.
You
Yeah.
know, that makes sense. I need to start doing that more. I'm getting tired of building stuff.
Yeah, that's it. It's the repetitiveness of it. You know, once you've done,
Yeah,
when you've done a run of 24 of them, and you're hand aging things, it just
right.
gets really boring. I don't know how
Yeah.
Dan Baines does it. You
I
know,
don't either. I don't either. He must have a real love for it because, um, well, I mean, aside from the fact that he makes the awards for the Hex Factor, and they are always so well made, and I really wanted the one that I was in because
yeah,
that one was so marvelous. But they're all so very cool. Um,
yeah.
Speaking of the Hex Factor, can you talk a little bit about that? And what it is.
So yeah, the Hex Factor is the competition that we hold at the Doomsday Convention, and it's always on the Saturday night. And it's pretty much an anything goes competition. Anyone can enter. It's first
Even
come,
me.
first serve. Only the best, though. Only the best. Yeah, anyone can put their names down. It's first come, first served, and you've basically got up to 15 minutes to do whatever you want, as long as it's got a bizarre theme.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be, seance stuff, bizarre mentalism, even, sideshow
Mm-hmm.
comes within the remit of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, it's a audience vote for the winner. There's just one winner. There's no runner-up or anything. And they get this trophy that Dan Baines sculpts every year. So every year it's a different trophy. It's a work of art, as anyone who's ever seen one will know. And also you get invited back next year. You get a free registration for the next year if you're the winner of the Hex Factor, and you get to do your full show on the Saturday afternoon. You get to do up to a 45-minute show as well. So it's a nice little package. Yeah. But people do it for the trophy. Really?
Yeah, I mean, for like 3 days, it's really, they cram a lot in there, and
yeah,
the lectures are really good. I saw Aiden, oh my God, Aiden Sullivan, Aiden Sinclair. Aiden Sinclair was there and did a wonderful lecture and performance. And I'm forgetting some of the names.
I think Perkins was there that year. Was that year E.R. Perkins was there the year that... did he come that year as well?
Is he kind of a big fellow with a beard?
Yes.
Yeah, he was there in a deep voice.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, he was there. Yeah. Yeah, that was great too.
Yeah.
So of course, you performed a couple of times that weekend. You gave the electric. What was that called? Is that like an electric chair?
The electric chair.
Yeah.
Madame Electra.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that was mostly what I do for a living. That show. That's what I do. I do the sideshow stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So the fire-eating bed of nails, human blockhead, human pincushion, and then the act with my assistant. So there's Miss Electra, Serpentina the Blade Girl. That's what I do. In fact, I was doing it last weekend in Llandudno, and I noticed Barbie's joined, and Barbie came to see the show, didn't you, Barbie?
Oh wow, nice.
She didn't know I was performing there. She just happened to turn up.
She happened to be there. Wow, that's really cool. Yeah. I love Barbie's a good egg. I love Barbie.
Yeah. So
good to see you, by the way, Barbie.
You go on a coach trip, and you find out that you got 3 magicians performing down the street.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So David Krasinski is watching online, and he's giving you kudos on your book. He says it's a great book.
So, thank you.
Yeah. So if he says it's good, it's gotta be good. So, and knowing you, I know it's gonna be good. Everything you do is good. So,
thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's got my first ever bizarre routine that I ever wrote in it as well.
Wow.
The Vampire, Return of the Highgate Vampire, which is the first thing I ever wrote, because I was always obsessed. Even when I was a kid, I was obsessed with the whole Highgate Vampire story.
Mm-hmm.
Before the internet and before the whole story went viral and everybody knew about it.
Right.
Knew about it because I had an elderly auntie who used to stay with a friend whose house backed onto Highgate Cemetery. So, and that was before it was a trust. Anybody could go in any time of day and just wander around. And that was how my auntie heard about it, and she told me about it. She was the one who walked me when I was a very small boy.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So for any Americans who might not be familiar with the Highgate Vampire, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, the Highgate Cemetery. I think you need to know a little bit about Highgate Cemetery first.
Okay.
So when in Victorian times, when the churchyards were sort of like overflowing, they needed to do something. So they formed the London Cemetery Company that had 7 big cemeteries built in London. I think they called them the Seven Sisters. Like there was Kelsall Green, which I think was the biggest. And then there was Highgate, which was built in 1839. And it's absolutely huge. There's the East and the West Cemetery. They're divided by a road that goes down the middle. And, it was for celebrity burials, really, people who were extremely well off.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were extremely well off, you could afford to have a mausoleum built at Highgate Cemetery. A lot of big names were buried there. For example, Karl Marx is buried there. He's got a great big tomb in the West Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
But it started to fall into disrepair as, cremation became popular. It was expensive to be buried at Highgate. So the company that owned it went into liquidation, and the cemetery fell into disrepair, and nature took over. Basically, I mean, you've got huge trees growing through tombstones and areas of the graveyard you couldn't even get to. So it always had a reputation for being haunted. And back in, I think it was 1969, so a couple of schoolgirls were walking down Swains Lane, which is the road that divides the two halves of the cemetery. And they looked into the north gate of the East Cemetery, which is the older part, and saw a man about 7 foot tall in black with glowing red eyes staring at them. Wow. So that was the first sighting. And then it was just like hysteria, really. There was a girl who was convinced that she was having nightly visits by some sort of vampire that was residing somewhere in the cemetery. It was in the national press. You know, people were turning up by the hundreds with stake and mallet in hand and ransacking the cemetery, digging up graves and staking corpses. It was just mayhem. But in amongst all that mayhem, there were two names, really. There was David Farrant and Sean Manchester, who were the self-styled vampire hunters that were going to, rid the UK of this vampire pestilence that was based in Highgate Cemetery. David Farrant was actually arrested and was banned from Highgate Cemetery. Well, they both were actually banned from Highgate Cemetery. But Sean Manchester, he wrote a book called, with Peter Underwood, called The Vampire's Bedside Companion. It was the first published story of what he did with the Highgate vampire and how he tracked it down. Initially, he tracked it down to the Lebanon Circle, which is the center of Highgate Cemetery with all these vaults. And he sort of like exorcised the vampire and bricked him up inside the tomb. And that was supposedly the end of the Highgate vampire. But then a few years later, people were seeing the vampire again. And he tracked it down to a like neo-Gothic mansion just outside Highgate. And he dragged it outside into the sunlight and staked it, supposedly. That is, but you know, if you really wanted to take a deep dive on the Highgate vampire, there's loads of stuff out there on YouTube, stories of people, and you know, there's plenty of video of Highgate Cemetery there.
Okay.
But it was I was obsessed with it because my auntie had the book The Vampire's Bedside Companion, which she used to read to me when I was like about 6, something like that. And it had all the pictures in of Highgate Cemetery, pictures of this girl who supposedly was bitten by the vampire, and pictures of like the little marks on her neck, all that sort of stuff. So
wow,
it just really stuck with me.
Yeah, that one with me too. Wow.
But you can still visit Highgate today. You can take you used to only be able to get in on a guided tour, but you can do a self-guided tour around Highgate now. There's plenty of other famous people buried in there. David Devant, the magician, is buried in there.
Oh, wow.
Colonel Stodar, the magician, is buried in there. Michael Faraday, the scientist. Charles Dickens' family is buried in there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he's not there because he's at Westminster, isn't he?
Yeah.
We'd need to ask Professor BC. He'd know where Charles Dickens was buried, but I'm sure he's at Westminster.
That would make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. Wow. I definitely have to visit there the next time I'm over. I love graveyards. I love cemeteries.
Oh yeah, Highgate's just like, it's the ultimate, really.
I bet. Yeah. Let's go check out our people in our gallery.
Should really put you on gallery view so I can see everyone.
Yeah. So, do we have any questions for Michael?
Or
anybody on Zoom? By the way, David says your book is beautifully put together, illustrated, and has multiple inspiring effects, and then he put the link to Magic to Go. I guess your book is there. So
Oh yeah, brilliant. Magic Words in Sheffield.
You
yeah.
ever won the contest?
Sorry?
Bill?
Have you ever won the contest?
Oh, have you ever won a contest?
Have I ever won a contest?
Yes.
I've never really been. When I was a kid, I used to do talent competitions doing magic. When I went professionally in 1989, I just decided that I wasn't going to do competitions. It was just, I don't know. I would get too anxious if I was in a competition. You know, I can perform in front of thousands of people. That doesn't bother me. Contests would just set off my anxiety, and I totally tip my hat to anybody who puts themselves in for a competition, specifically a magic competition. It's just not for me.
But it's a beautiful trophy. You should get one.
I would love one. I'll have to just, cheat and pay Dan to make me one.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fair since Michael is one of the people running the whole thing, so it wouldn't be fair for him to be.
Yeah, that's my excuse. I'm one of the organisers, so I can't enter.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would encourage anyone else to enter because it's a very safe space. I mean, I'm sure Tommy will tell you that everybody's so friendly and accepting, and
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now. You run the contest, so you wouldn't want to yank to win the prize. I get it now.
I'm trying to think if any Yanks have won the prizes. A Swede has won the prize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bino
I don't have to look back at the records.
There's two.
Well,
Bino ruled once, didn't he? And then there was another guy.
Yeah, we know. So he's from Belgium. He's from Bruges. We know he won. Robert won. Robert Dahlstrom. He's from Sweden.
That's on there.
Um,
The guy who played the flute. He told stories.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's going back a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't think of his name.
Cavana, Stefano Cavana, is that him?
Yeah.
And Edgar Brumaire.
Yeah.
Oh, Edgar. Yeah, Edgar. Yeah. So I think Edgar's living in Holland at the moment. Is he?
I think so.
He's French but lives in Holland, I think.
Bill, the audience decide to win, and nobody else. The whole audience decide to win.
Yeah, and we do get a lot of Americans come to Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
It's a people's choice.
It's a people's choice, yeah. Basically, there's the
Can
8
you like
contestants.
me?
Can you like
me?
The way they vote is everybody gets a little bead. And there's 8 contestants. At the end of the competition, we've got 8 coffins, each with the contestant's name on. And everybody drops their bead into the coffin of their favourite performer. So that's how the voting works.
Yeah. I remember when people were casting their votes, a number of people came up to me and said, I really like your act. And then they put their marble in somebody else's coffin.
At least they're honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I changed my act like the night before because I started to panic. And so I added the whole thing about the time travel and yelling before I came on stage.
Yeah.
I was trying to be different.
Oh, yeah. I remember. You came in through the audience, didn't you?
Yeah. I was like, not again.
That's right. I remember. No, that's the thing. Most years, it's very, very close, the competition.
Yeah. And so, but I mean, that year, I forget his name, but the guy who won as the the priest with the cross and the fire coming out of the
Hello,
candle.
British Airways. I'd like to book a flight for Tommy Burnett to London, for Blackpool, and for you set up at Blackpool, okay? And then you stay there, and then you go into plenty of time.
I'll just live on the street. I'm sorry.
That's all. Busky
Yeah.
on the street.
There you go. Yeah. Anyway, this is not about me. Anybody have questions for Mike besides Bill? No? Okay.
Go.
Like I said, I was bowling myself. Welcome back.
I don't know why the internet just completely cut off, but the weather is really bad here. I don't know whether it's anything to do with that.
Well, let's blame it on the spirits. So
it's always the spirit.
Yeah. So I forget. So we just got done talking about the Hex Factor. How did you and Dan? You've been with it the whole time, right? Did you start it with Dan? Oh.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what's going on?
Okay. So did you hear my question?
I didn't know.
Okay. Fair enough. I'll say it really fast. No. Did you start the convention with Dan in the beginning? Like, were you with him the whole time?
Well, the convention, it morphed over the years. So it started from, they were called the Charles Cameron Gatherings in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And it was run by Carl Bartoni. And it was sort of like in conjunction with the Immortals, with, Brother Shadow.
Right. Okay.
They were very small get-togethers, though. There'd be like, 24 people, maybe. Sometimes there'd be 12 people. And they went back to sort of like, well, actually, thinking about it, okay, so, right, this is quite complicated. So the first ever Bizarre convention in the UK was called the Meeting of the Immortals in 1996 in Birmingham. And that was, Carl Bartoni was involved, and Black Heart, Keith Hart. And they had Christian Chelman come over, and he did a lecture performance. So that was in 96. Now, I think they did one in 97 in the same place. And then there was nothing for a year or two. And then Carl Bartoni started one in Blackpool called The Convocation. And that was the same weekend as the Blackpool Magic Convention. But it was a specific, like, fringe event for bizarrists. Right. So that ran for either 2 or 3 years. And we had, Carl Heron used to come over. Eugene Berger came over. Keith Hart was always there. Mary Tomich, people like that. And then around about when they were finishing the Edinburgh gatherings, the Charles Cameron, because Charles Cameron died, and we had the Charles Cameron Memorial gatherings in Edinburgh. I think there'd been 1 or 2 previous to that, but they were a bit more ad hoc. They were very unofficial. So then the Edinburgh gatherings grew, and Carl Bartoni stepped down, and Ronnie Shackney, Ronaldo, took over for a year, and then decided that he wanted to change it. So he moved it to Whitby and called it Doomsday. And that's where Doomsday was for years. It was in Whitby. And then basically Ronnie got too ill to run it, and he handed it over to Dan Baines. And Dan ran it for many years, but then we lost the venue at Whitby, which was a great venue. It was in an old nunnery. So, we'd be there doing Bizarre Magic Convention, and people would be walking around with inverted crosses, and the nuns would be there ringing their bells. You know, it's the weirdest thing ever. So then we moved to Derby because Dan knew Derby well and carried on Doomsday there. And then after last year was Dan's last one as the official owner. Organizer. But he'd done it for years. He just wanted to take a bit of a step back. So he handed it over to me and Nick Birch. And ones who run it now. So that's a potted history of bizarre magic conventions in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, we have a few, not too many, over here, and I hope to go to one in January if I can make it.
To ECSS.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still want to make ECSS, but it's January's a difficult time for me because I've just finished the Christmas season. It's my wife's birthday in January. You know, after Christmas, I'm always skint.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, I have been skint all year so far, so I'm hoping by January to turn things around. So I definitely use a break. And
I've always wanted to go to ECS. I've been to the Inner Circle of Bizarre Magic in Connecticut that Joe Cabral organised. I've done that when I've lectured and performed at that one for Joe, because me and Joe came to one of the Edinburgh gatherings and we just clicked. We got on really, really well.
Nice.
So you'll have to ask him about the time we ended up in the Strippers and then in Greyfriars Cemetery at about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Let me write that down. Let's see. So you are a collector of weird and odd things. Do you have anything you can sell us?
Yeah, I put a few things out, but I couldn't bring you some of my best stuff out because I've been collecting since I was a kid, and there's boxes and boxes of stuff. Because I'm so involved in organising Doomsday at the moment, I've just had to grab a few things that I could grab straight away. So I'll show you some of the things, because my collection, it's like everything, not just... I do collect magic stuff, so antique magic props, particularly anything to do with spiritualism, slates, wrapping hands, that sort of thing. And also Ouija boards, all that sort of thing. But my favourite stuff to collect is Tibetan. So I'll show you a couple of Tibetan items I've got down here. So we'll start off with this little fella. There we go. I'll pick him up, actually, so you can see him better. There he is. So that's known as a Kapala, which is Sanskrit for skull bowl. So this is a Tibetan item. And this is the skull of a Tibetan monk. It will have been collected during a sky burial or an air burial, sometimes they call them. Obviously, with in the area, it was too... the ground was too hard to bury people. So what they would do is they would lay their bodies out on mountain tops. A priest would use a special knife to slit their body. And then the birds, the carrion, would come in, strip the flesh from the bones and carry it away. And that was symbolic as well, your journey after death. So the bones would be collected and stored in an ossuary until certain bones were used. Now the head... the Kapala skull bowl was used for various things. So the top would open like this. And one of the things it would be used for is as an offering bowl on the altar. And they would put things inside to appease wrathful deities. So some of the wrathful deities in Tibetan mythology, like Yamantaka, although they were wrathful deities, they're defending the teachings of the Tibetan Buddhism. So they would put things in here like wine to represent blood, balls of bread that would represent flesh, and that would appease these wrathful deities. Sorry, I should say deities. And the other thing is, in tantric meditation, they would fill the top of the kapala with blood mixed with wine, other bodily fluids as well, and they would drink that. One of the reasons was to gain knowledge from the remaining karmic force that was in the skull from the person whose skull it was. If they were a very knowledgeable person, you know, drinking during the tantric ceremonies would pass on the knowledge supposedly to the person who was drinking it. So this is quite an unusual one, actually, because a lot of the times when you see these kapala, they're covered in silver. Right. But this is very unusual that it's got just the basic decorations on.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
There he is.
Very cool.
So he's we'll pop him there so he can watch. Now the other Tibetan thing that I've got is this thing here. So this is a trumpet made from a thigh bone, a human thigh bone, a femur. It's known as a kangling, which again translates literally to leg flute. So there's the mouthpiece there and the end there. And this had several uses, really. This was blown at funerals, in chud ceremonies by a chopa. It was also used when it was blown. It would be the summoning the deities, which would help to eliminate the ego as part of the tantric meditation. So this had quite a few different uses in Tibetan Buddhism as well. So
very cool.
Yeah, he's not too bad. Did I put any other Tibetan items down there? I didn't. Okay, I'm going to pop these down just for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the this is quite an interesting one. Let's say so this is known as a scold's bridle, and these had a few uses in medieval times. If you had a wife who was a bit of a nag, you could go to your local magistrate and get one of these with the full support of the law, and it would be placed on your wife, locked into place. And as you can see, there's a little plate here that used to push down on the tongue to stop the nagging. But these were also placed on witches as well. They were used a lot in witch trials. This is actually an original one. The front and the tongue plate is original. Wow. These back bits here, they were replaced in Victorian times. But the front is actually the... you often see these in torture museums, in books about the history of torture, things like that. And no, I don't have any for sale, sadly. But I quite like the link with witchcraft, because the witches were put in these when they were awaiting trial. And speaking of witchcraft, I've acquired a few things only last year, so you'll be the first people to ever have seen these, because I've never had them on display before. There was a satanic cult in Glasgow that they went their separate ways, which I think is quite amusing, that satanic cult were arguing with each other and didn't get on and split up.
Yeah.
I just thought that was quite funny. But I got some of their ritual items. So this is the top of a skull, which actually, if you put it this way, you can probably just see. These would be the it's hard to point actually looking at the camera at the same time, but these were the eye sockets here.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And so if you have a look at that side as well, so there's the part where the mandible would go in there, in the back. Yep. But what they used this for was in their black mass, they would have in here pieces of turnip dyed black. And they represented the opposite of the host. So everything in the black mass, that's why they have the inverted crucifix, because everything is the opposite of Christianity. So everything's the opposite of good. So the opposite of the host was these pieces of turnip that were dyed black. that were kept in here that people would have as part of the Black Mass. Now, I've got a very good friend who I think you've met as well, Tommy, Matteo Barini.
Oh, yeah.
He's a forensic pathologist at Liverpool University. And he's had a look at this, and he's told me that this is definitely been buried in a coffin. You can tell that from the patina. So this piece has been, I did say to him, you know, would it have been dug up and taken illegally? He said it's very hard to tell, but you see the mark there at the front? That's probably where a spade has sheared the head when it's been dug up. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it was dug up and taken illegally, because often when graveyards are like, you know, shut down, for want of a better word, the bones are often taken. If they're very, very old graves, they're either just dumped, given to museums or given to collectors, which is quite legal. I know it's state by state in the UK, in the US, isn't it, as to how you can own human stuff, as far as I know. But in the UK, it's quite legal to own one of these. So that was on their altar. Where they got it from, I don't know, but it was definitely buried in a coffin and dug up. So
Nice.
the thing that came with that was wherever put it. This is an opium pipe made from a human arm bone, a humerus. So
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, very funny.
Funny.
But that was used by the same cult.
Wow.
And then this thing, which these are these little cloven hoof things. These were used for drinking, like herbal libations.
Wow.
So these are all things that came from the satanic altar. So I think you can see that. Look at that. And then the only other thing is, as I say, I just sort of like had to grab what I could grab.
Yeah.
Was that I am a bit obsessed with head hunting and executions where the head's being taken. So this is a
Who isn't?
headhunter's axe. This is
Wow.
this is from the this is Naga, which is the generic name for a few tribes from, like, you know, Burmese, Indians. But that's one of the tribes' headhunters' axes.
Wow. That's very cool.
Yeah. But that's the thing. One day I would like to have my own little museum somewhere.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I keep telling myself that's the excuse for having all this stuff, isn't it? Oh, because one day I'll have a museum, so it's
Right.
okay to have all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky, actually, when I was, you know, when you're traveling around performing, you get to go to all these antique shops and junk shops that are buried down back streets, and, you know, you're meeting all sorts of interesting people who are giving you stuff. I had a very good friend here in the UK, who Andrew certainly knows, called Stromboli, and he was a fire eater and sword swallower. For me, he was the best fire eater and sword swallower in the world, and he had a massive collection of stuff. That, you know, shrunken heads, two-headed pigs, and all that sort of stuff. And over the years, I bought most of it, or he took pity on me and gave me stuff. So, you know, it's I don't know. He used to say it's when I first became friends with Stromboli and I wanted to really start collecting seriously. As I say, I bought stuff when I was a kid. I had some African devil masks, were the first things I ever bought when I was about 8 or 9. And when I seriously wanted to get into it, I was like, Danny, that was Stromboli's real name. Danny, where'd you get this stuff? Where'd you get this stuff? He said, Michael, it'll find you. And he was right. Once you open yourself up to it, it comes to you. Synchronicity.
That's absolutely true. Yeah. Yeah. That's happened for me more with books than anything else. I found a lot of unique books that were just the topic that I was looking for, and they just came, a lot of them appeared on the sidewalk or in a paper bag, and there's nobody around, and I looked inside and I'm like, wow, I was just thinking of this like a week ago, and here it is. But I've actually, most of the odd weird stuff I went out and sought out myself, but maybe I'll try that and open myself up and see what comes my way.
Well, that's the essence of real magic, isn't it? It is. Yes. Putting it out there, making it happen.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Putting the intent out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's what do they call it now? They all the millennials, they have like their sheets, don't they, that they put everything on, and I'm trying to think what they call it.
A vision board. Vision board.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, vision as in board. Yeah, that's what we call it. I don't know if they call it that in the UK, but that's what we call it here.
Yeah, probably. If my daughter was around, I'd ask her, because it's the type of thing she does. But it's it's the same as casting a spell, isn't it? You're casting a spell for it's the same thing. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I believe that. I believe that, like you said, you put the intent out there, and believe in it long enough.
Yeah. I used to say, be careful what you ask for because you might get it. And my very first mentor said, no, that's not true. Be careful what you ask for because you will get it.
Yeah.
Not you might, you will.
And somebody else said to me once, as far as collecting stuff goes, is like the stuff ends up owning you.
Yeah.
And it's true because, my house has been taken over. I daren't show you either side of the camera for the boxes and boxes of junk. I mean, highly valuable antiques.
I dare not show you any part of this room.
Oh, we're all the same, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, at least you have like a common CD rack. And
it's that's where I keep all my horror films. They're all DVDs in there.
DVD, yeah. I love that. There's actually a what do you call it? A warehouse in my neighborhood, and every now and then they have the roll-up gate open.
Oh yeah.
They have a certain common sarcophagus just standing there. I'm like, I wonder if they would sell that because it's obviously not real. But
well, if you don't ask, you don't get, do you?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, that's funny how that came to me because I first saw one of those years ago when I was working in Devon, and they were £900. They were those big fiberglass DVD cabinets, and at the time there was no way I could have afforded that. And then this one appeared on eBay a few years ago, probably about 10 years ago, and it was £200. And I thought, oh, that's a pretty good price, that. But I thought somebody will bid against me. There's no way I'm going to get that.
Right.
Anyway, I won it with no bids against me.
Wow.
And I think the reason is because it's 6 foot tall, it weighs a ton, and you had to go and collect it from Manchester. Now, Manchester from where I live is only half an hour, and I drive a van. So
there you go.
It was meant to be mine.
Yeah. That would have been a problem for me. Okay, let me let me hop on a plane.
Try to get that in costume.
So we have another question from David Krasinski.
Yeah.
He wants to know, what is your favorite horror film?
Oh, can I have two?
Yeah, free can. Yeah.
Let's have two. Okay. The Wicker Man and The Exorcist. I can't pick between those two because for me they're both perfect.
Yeah. I remember seeing, well, I've seen both of them, but The Exorcist, I was 11 or 12, and I begged my father to take me, so he took me, and I had nightmares for weeks. I couldn't walk down the street without, looking behind me. The unedited, or just the unedited one that has like 20 minutes of never before seen footage.
Yeah.
I don't think that made it any better. I think the editing.
Well, I think I can't remember whether it was the unedited version or the director's cut had the spider walk in it. Where she walked down the stairs.
That's what I mean. Director's cut.
That was good.
That was good.
Version, and I thought that was good. I thought that should have stayed in.
Yeah.
But you see, in the UK, The Exorcist was banned on video for years, from 1982, when the Video Nasties Act came in, the Bright Bill. That was banned. You could only see it at the cinema, and it was an X certificate, so it was 18s only. Right. So I didn't actually see The Exorcist until I was about 17 or 18 at the cinema.
Yeah. I might have been a little bit older. I might have been 14, but it's
still young, really, I suppose, because it's
still pretty young.
And I was raised Catholic as well, which made it even more terrifying.
Yeah, well, my dad was raised Catholic, and I think he was more afraid of it than I was.
Yeah.
To be honest. But there's one scene in there when the clock is ticking in the background, and then it stops when the priest mentions something. I forget what it was, but then the clock just stops. That freaked me out more than anything, I think.
Yeah. Well, it did a great disservice to Ouija boards as well, because prior to 1973, when The Exorcist came out, Ouija boards were never considered evil.
Right.
Until that movie came out, and then that was the turning point when everybody was, had a big problem with them.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there was a movie probably in the 80s that had, now I forget his name. It had George C. Scott, and it was called The Changeling.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely one of my favorites. That's probably my favorite ghost story.
Yeah. It has no blood in it whatsoever, and it scared the hell out of me.
Oh, scared the crap out of me as well.
Yeah. But
we used to have pipes that banged in our house. And if you've seen The Changeling, you'll know what I mean about the banging.
Yeah.
Oh, awful.
Yeah. Well, before he got famous, George C. Scott was a friend of my parents.
Really?
So I knew him when I was a little kid. Him and his ex-wife, Trish Vanderveer, used to live across the street from where I used to live.
And she was in The Changeling as well, wasn't she, Trish Vanderveer?
It was, yeah. I think it was still married at the time.
Really?
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, doesn't matter. She used to be with somebody else, and then left him for Timothy Scott. But anyway, very subtle movie. But there's one scene with the automatic writing where the psychic is doing automatic writing and her husband is reading what she's writing down. And then later on, when he plays the audio recording and the voice comes up on the tape, I was like, it scared me, but it was like, that's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I want in my life.
Oh yeah,
I want that in my life.
Most people who are into bizarre magic are into horror films, and I think you always take pieces that you liked or scared you from horror movies and put them in your routines. Yeah. You know, I've got a piece from you know where they go up into the attic in The Exorcist and the candle flares.
Right.
Well, I use that with Lycopodium in one of my routines, and I've took that from there. And actually, funny you should say that in The Changeling, where they're doing the seance, and she's repeating over again, "Did you die in this house? Did you die in this house?" I use that in one of my routines as well.
Yeah. Very underrated film here in the U.S. And actually, there was a critic named Joel Siegel who gave it a really bad review. I was really young, and it was the one and only time I ever sent an angry letter, and it was an angry letter to Joel Siegel, and I said, you're missing the whole point, you know. If this isn't a
Well, I think critics in general don't like horror movies, do they?
Well, some do, but I mean, because I think he didn't like it. I can't remember now, but I think he didn't like it because it didn't fit the real criteria of a horror film, which is like supposed to like scare the pants off you. And
I think they tried to sell it as a supernatural detective story, didn't they?
I think so, yeah. And to me, it was a love story more than anything else.
It was just a brilliant film. Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'm still trying to get my daughter to watch it because she's a big horror movie fan, but anything that's supernatural and ghosty, she can't watch at night when she's on her own. So,
right. Yeah. Well, I don't blame her. I don't blame anyone who can't do that. It took me a long time to accept the fact that that's my life. Anyway, Michael, it's so great seeing you, and thank you for coming on my show.
No problem.
Means a lot when people say yes. Do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Not really, I suppose. Just promote Doomsday. You know, if anyone can make it to Doomsday next year, it'd be great to see you. You know, we're still growing as a convention. And, you know, most people who go to Doomsday once, that's it. They're hooked. They're part of the family. Yeah. They will come again. So, you know, anyone out there who wants to come to Doomsday, then, you know, look at the website. It's really easy. It's just Doomsday Gathering. And obviously this one's coming up this weekend and we're sold out, but we'll be releasing the dates within the next couple of weeks for next year's event. And we've got some good plans for it actually already next year. We've sort of like planned the theme of it already.
Nice.
So
I look forward to it. I'm putting it out there. I'm intending to go next year. So, yes, it's out there in the universe. Make it happen. Make it so.
It will.
Yes.
It will happen.
Thank you, Michael. So great having you. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you backstage for a moment while I close the show. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Diamond.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.
So, with all these snafus that happened today, we still had a great show. Michael Diamond was a lexicon of bizarre magical ideas and thinking. Don't forget to get his book, and don't forget to let's highlight that one more time. Hold that up there. Yes, the Ultimate Book of Shadows. Yes. I'll be getting one for sure. I don't have enough bizarre stuff yet. I really don't. Anyway, so next week, as I was saying earlier, we have a young man who recently came out with an effect within the last 5 or 6 months called The Seer, and it's supposed to be a phenomenal effect, and we'll be talking about that and many other things. His name is Manuel Lamarque, and it's going to be another great show. I predict, I feel it in the marrow of my bones. I can feel it. So remember, keep it strange right there. Keep it strange. See you next time.
You've been watching Beyond Belief with your host, Tommy Burnett. Thank you to Michael Diamond. See you next time. Next week's guest is Manuel Luarte, Saturday, May 16th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Well, that was fun.